So Sergio, if you only had 1 minute to tell the audience how to get a high quality girlfriend, what would you tell them?
If I had 1 minute to explain how to get a high quality girlfriend, you need to become a high quality man. That's the main thing you need to think about. It's not so much about what to say or the techniques. It's more about you as a man as a whole. You got to look, where are you lacking? Where's your strengths? And then start working on the things you're lacking. If you want an actual 10 out of 10 woman, you need to become a 10 out of 10 guy.
Now, people might be hearing this and they're like, okay, but what goes into a 10 out of 10 guy? Because I think people may inherently know, but let's kind of sketch out maybe like a framework for my friends that are agency people. We like the numbers. Tell us a little bit about what exists for like, what is a 10 out of 10 guy in your eyes?
Well, there's many different areas in where a man can be showing his value to women. I think the main one and the one that I preach the most is your vibe, right? And your vibe is essentially how you make people feel. It's your personality. It's the way you communicate. It's your nonverbal communication. A lot of guys think that money, fitness, or accolades will save them when it comes to women. When they can't even make a girl laugh, they can't even make a girl feel comfortable on the first date. So really your vibe is like number one thing. From there, there's many more factors, but this is definitely the biggest struggle guys have with this.
So, okay, when I used to coach for Sartain, we used to have this looks, money, status, game paradigm. And it seems like if I could draw a parallel between what you're saying is that game might be the most important one, and that would be vibe. Or are you saying those are two separate categories?
Honestly, the way I categorize game is like game is just it's the idea of, I would explain game in two steps. It's understanding technique and it's your vibe, right? And then of course, looks, money, and status play a massive part. I think it 100% does. But I do think the way you communicate goes over any of these three by far.
All right, so now an agency person, they're sending cold emails all day, and the lovely people from the internet pod tell them how they
Yeah,
can improve their vibe, because there might be like, oh, vibe is this like a fear ephemeral thing they don't fully
right.
understand. Talk to us how we can actually make this better.
Yeah. I think the thing about your vibe is it's the one thing you can't really fake, and you actually need to go out and get experience. You need to go out and date women. You need to go out and talk to strangers. You need to go out and start having fun with strangers. You need to be able to do this, right? So if you're at home all day doing emails and stuff, you can't expect to become extremely charismatic at 6 p.m. by the time you're done working. That's not going to happen. You're probably going to be so in your head. You're probably going to be very logical. And that's the opposite of what I mean by vibe. Because you guys might be able to have good conversation with people who relate to the topics that you're good at. For example, money, business, or whatever it is. But when you're talking to a girl, you're going to notice a lot of these girls, they don't want to necessarily geek out on these topics with you. You have to be able to have more light conversation, more playful conversation. And the only way you can cultivate this truly is by going out daily and talking with strangers.
Yeah, and I think they'll hear what you're saying there. And I know a lot of guys in this internet money space where they've been on dates maybe earlier in the internet money thing before they got good with women, and they're like, I just don't know what to talk with her. She doesn't want to talk about marketing funnels. She doesn't want to talk about like the latest Hermosi video. So talk
Right.
to them a little bit about like how they can cultivate this light conversation. Give them even some examples on like what are some light conversation topics they can bring up. Like we're going from very fundamentals here.
Yeah, this is a great question. And this is one of the biggest questions I will get, which is like, what conversational topics do I do? How do I talk with this girl? Right. I think the biggest thing to understand is it's not so much about the topic, because I can talk about Hormozy with a girl and it can be light. I can talk about Hormozy with a girl and it can be very geeky and nerdy and logical. So it's not about the topic. It's not about what we're discussing. It's about how we're going about this discussion. It's about the emotions behind what I'm saying. That's really what it is. So you need to, instead of thinking, what are the topics I go over? That's not the right way to think about it, because now you're getting back into the problem that you're already in, which is thinking so logically. You need to instead think, I need to be playful. I need to make jokes. I don't have to be so logical with my conversational structure. I don't even have to be so polite per se. I could be more unfiltered. I could be more random, right? You don't want to judge your conversation so much. This is what guys do a lot. So that's kind of like my advice in terms of like conversational topics. And it's basically understand that it's more about how you're going about these topics and the emotion behind it. It's more about that.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned earlier is like, okay, let's say you're sending cold emails and cold DMs and on sales calls with, other agency guys all day. You're not necessarily calibrated when you leave your house at 6
Right.
p.m. and you want to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
talk to girls. So what are some of the things you recommend they do in order to like, I don't know, either like boost their state throughout the day or just like maybe boost it when they get outside?
Honestly, this is a great question. And I still do this to this day. Okay. There's many things, but if I could just tell anyone like you have 5 minutes, how do you get in state in 5 minutes? The easiest way. You go into a mirror and you talk to a mirror for 5 minutes straight. And you just keep talking. Don't hold back. Say whatever the fuck is on your mind. Try your best to fully express yourself. Whether that's being loud, or whether that's moving your hands more, whether that's just saying dumb shit into the mirror. Just talk. Talk for 5 minutes. Watch how this is going to loosen up your ability to just free flow speech. This is called the talk forever drill. This is like a massive thing I tell clients, right? And there's many levels to this. The most basic level is just talk to a mirror 5 minutes straight, look at your eyes. That's like main basic level. But the next level would be start to actually free associate with every sentence you say. This is going to really combat your logical brain, right? And for example, just to give you a quick example, I could say something like AirPods are something people use to listen to music. Music is great. My favorite artist is Eminem. I used to have chocolate M&Ms when I was a kid. You saw how I just gave three random things, free associating per thing. I could do this forever. And I guarantee if you guys practice this skill, the same thing happens to you. And next thing you know, when you're talking to a girl, you're talking to someone, you're just so much better at switching topics and being more witty.
All right, now we've got the exercise. We're looking in the mirror. We're free associating for 5 minutes. Now it's time to leave the house. And I think this is when the nerves, and I know this from my own personal experience, really start to kick in because now you're hitting the street. Now you got to go start talking to people. So let's talk a little bit about, what is cold approach, and
Yeah.
then talk to us a little bit about like how to get into the conversation.
Yes. Okay, so to break down what is cold approach at a basic fundamental level, it is talking to someone you've never spoken to before. There's actually one more factor to that. It's talking to someone that you have zero bond with, zero sort of connection with this person. For example, if I brought you, Jax, to a party and people knew me and you were talking to people at that party, my friends, that isn't cold approach. That's considered a warm approach because there's a certain umbrella under where you and that person are connecting, right? But if you go out to the street and you see some girl walking by, and if you were to go up to that girl, that is a cold approach. It is as cold as possible. There's zero mutual connection. There's zero umbrella, right? So this is cold approach. And it's a really interesting topic. And it's my most favorite passionate topic to talk about because it's going to help everyone with their confidence and their ability to just think on the spot. Is extremely good for this. And the main way you get into this, if you've never done this, is you break this apart into the smallest pieces. The smallest little piece is you walk around and you say good morning to people, or you say good afternoon to people, or you say good evening to people, or you give little compliments, and you do all these things in passing. That's the key word, in passing. You don't go up to someone directly and say, hey, I like your shoes, just awkwardly. They're going to be like, okay, have a good day. Instead, you're walking by the person as you're just giving the little compliment. Hey, nice shoes, by the way. Hey, nice shoes. Hey, good morning. As you're walking by the person, just say these words. At first, you're gonna feel weird about it, but if you do this enough, you kind of loosen up. That is the first step, honestly.
All right, so we've got we warmed up with the mirror. Now it's time to practice with some real life human beings. So we're walking down the street. Hey, maybe if we're afraid about the women at first, we can compliment some guy's shoes, like, hey, love your shoes. And then you
Yep.
start boiling up. Is there a certain amount of like compliments you recommend before starting to get into the cold approach itself?
I mean, really, it does depend on who you are and where you're at. However, I would say a nice number in this whole journey is three. It's a nice number to have. 3 and 10. So that's typically the numbers I think of. So, like, for example, I'll tell a client, all right, go do 3 compliments and then come back to me. Right. And if after three you feel like that was easy, you feel okay, all right, let's go think about something else. But let's just think step by step. So that's what I would say. Three.
So three compliments, and then let's talk what happens after the compliment. So we've gotten the easy reps in, like they're feeling a little comfortable. They've complimented some people's shoes, some handbags, some nails out there. Now let's talk about how guys should approach women. Let's say they're going to the gym and they're like, all right, I got my compliments in, I got my mirror practice in. Talk to them a little bit about how they should approach that.
Okay, approaching to the gym is very different.
Not in the gym, sorry, on their way to the gym.
Oh, gotcha.
All internet money listeners should be going to the gym, by the way.
Okay, got you. So approaching a girl on the street while you're on your way somewhere. Okay.
Mhm.
So here's the basic approach that I teach. Okay. It comes down to 4 steps. It's called ACII: attention, context, intent, introduction. All right. It's a 4-step process, and you pretty much always open in the daytime like this, right? The attention is you saying something like, excuse me, right? The context is explaining what you were doing prior to the open. And we're not giving her a massive paragraph of explanation. It could be as simple as, I was walking by. The intent is showing your intention, telling her why you're there, right? And that could also be as simple as, I saw you and I really liked your look. And then the introduction is, so I wanted to come and say hi. And that's the open. This is like a standard open. You don't have to say this word for word, but that skeleton of the ACII, that always remains. You always need to have these 4 elements. If you don't, it doesn't make any sense in the daytime. It doesn't.
That's a good thing to caveat. I did not even mention that it was the daytime, but yes, let's talk a little bit about like the difference between things you should be doing. Well, let's get to that later, actually. Let's first talk about, so they've opened up the girl. Now, how do they continue the conversation? So we put the opener, she's going to respond in some way. And then talk to us a little bit about how carrying the conversation, because this was some advice you gave me personally.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, okay, let's say we were in the daytime. I say, hey, excuse me, I was walking by. I thought you're cute. I want to come say hi. Right. And then the girl's like, oh, hi. Now we're in this position. Cool. If you've never done this before, you're probably going to be extremely anxious. You're probably going to be like fucking, like your energy's all over the place. You could barely think. You didn't really think she was going to just stop and talk to you. Right. So at first it doesn't even matter what I tell you. You're not going to remember. You're not going to. Just allow yourself to fuck it up at first, because you probably will. Honestly, that's the mentality. Like, it's okay to just get your fucking nerves out. But with that being said, what do we talk about? This is what we talk about. It comes down to 2 techniques. All right. It comes down to 2 basic fundamental techniques. It's called observations and personal input. These are the 2 most fundamental conversational techniques to have. And this isn't just for cold approach. This is just for conversation in general, right? An observation is whenever you point out something you've observed. It can be a physical element on the girl. It could be part of the environment. It can even be a meta observation. For example, right now I'm noticing that I'm in a podcast with Jax. That's like me observing something that's happening, but it's not even like a physical element necessarily. That's the observation. Now, here's the thing. You guys might be thinking, okay, but if I just said that to the girl, like if I just said, oh, I see you have a shirt, like how is that going to make her respond in any way, right? That's where personal input comes into play. Because once you pair these 2 things, it makes sense. For example, I'm noticing I'm in a podcast with Jax, and I'm actually having a great time because it's my first time ever being a guest in a podcast. That second part, that's personal input. That's me giving input on the observation. I could tell the girl, hey, I like your shirt. And then she's like, thanks. And honestly, let me take that one part back, because that is a compliment. Once you have that emotion behind it, it is okay to just tell the girl, I like this. But you could be like, oh, I noticed you have these shoes on. I saw them here. Or my friend was telling them about this. That's what like leads to conversation, right? And you have to allow yourself to get personal input on things you see. And that's what's going to bring topics up.
Yeah. And one thing I'd heard in the past, and correct us if we're wrong here. So we talked about the observation, we talked about the input. A lot of people say to also make assumptions like, hey, it looks like you were heading to the gym or something
Right.
like that. So talk to us a little bit about where assumptions fit into that paradigm.
That's a great question. So an assumption is a branch of an observation. Okay. It is basically an observation, but now you're saying it in an assumptive manner. Because an observation can be said in many ways. I could be like, hey, Jax, is that the new Express shirt? Right? That's an observational question. Or I could be like, hey, Jax, I see you wearing that Express. That's an assumption. They're both stemming from the observation I made, which is you're wearing a shirt, right? So they're actually very, very related. The reason I didn't bring up the idea of assumptions is because it's not as fundamental as an observation and personal input. With these two ideas, observation, personal input, you could just talk to someone forever. I could talk to a girl forever. And if you guys watch any of my infields, you're gonna see like that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm pointing out, oh, your tattoo, blah blah blah. I got this tattoo earlier. Oh, you look like you're from Colombia. Yes, I am. I was just in Colombia. My friends live there, right? It's observational, personal input. This is like the jab and the hook. The jab is like the observation, and then the hook is the personal input. And this is literally like conversation 101.
Yeah, and I remember when we were out together that you were talking about. So we've got the observation, and we've got. Oh, sorry, I already forgot the second one. But you were talking a little bit about how you need to guys need to carry the burden of the conversation. Like you kind of just, for lack of a better term, interrupted her day, and you've got to get her to buy into you as a person.
See, that's honestly, I don't agree with that exact frame.
Yeah. Give us some better framing here.
That is a little bit of a low value way of looking at the thing, right? So that is how people feel, though. When I first started this cold approach, that's how I felt. I was like, I'm interrupting her day. You know what I mean? But dude, that's not what's happening. Like that's not what's happening. Jax, if you drop your wallet and then someone ran up to you and was like, "Hey, Jax, bro, your wallet." Am I interrupting your day or am I just fucking giving you your wallet back? And you're like, "Oh my god,
Me out. Yeah.
thank you so much, bro." Like, fuck. Like, what an awesome person. That's the mindset to have. If you don't think you're worth a wallet to this girl, like that's a whole different problem, right? We need to understand the concept of cold approach is like we're offering value. We are not trying to take from nobody. And we have confidence in the idea of social calibration. So if for some reason it's not going well, we can always leave. No big fucking deal, right? The real frame is this. You see a girl or you see someone you want to speak with. You confidently go up and welcomely, in a calibrated way, speak with this person and give them good energy. Worst case scenario, and honestly, this is how it goes. If I approach 10 girls, literally worst case scenario, some girls say, thank you, like you're sweet or whatever, but I have a boyfriend. That's the worst case scenario. But they say things like, I'm flattered. Thank you for coming up to me. You have a good day though. Like you seem like a good guy. Whatever the fuck they say, right? That is the worst thing I'll get from a girl. No girl gets mad at me for approaching her. That doesn't happen. And I'm saying this because these were the things I mentally struggled with before I got into approaching. I thought I would get a lot of negative reactions from people. But people don't really do that. So to summarize what you were saying, to summarize my answer, the frame is not so much that you're interrupting your day and you're trying to prove yourself to her. The frame is more like you have value to offer. You're going up and you're offering this value. That's really what it is, right? And that's part one. And then what was your question? Like, because I corrected the frame. What was the question?
The question, and I do really appreciate the frame correction. I'm not the biggest cold approacher. Me and Serge will probably get into this a little bit later. Is that I'm more on the social circle dynamic, but it's always good to talk to people that are in the space. So the question was about carrying the burden of the conversation, and maybe you can even correct that term. But when I was coming up, that was one of the main terms.
Okay, that's a great question. So let me explain the idea of carrying the burden of conversation. So that concept is not a technique like personal input and observations. It's more of a mindset. Okay. And it's like a principle of conversation. You need to understand when you go up to a girl and you're talking to her on the street, you don't know what she was just doing. You don't know how she was just feeling. You don't know shit about this girl, right? You don't know how socially flowy she is in that moment. Maybe she was like deep in like study and she hasn't opened her mouth in the last 2 hours and she had hella caffeine, so her anxiety levels are up. And then you just come up and you're all confident and shit. And she's like, oh, hey, right? And you're talking to her and you expect her to carry the conversation. That's ridiculous. You can't expect her to carry the conversation. As a man, it's on you to carry the conversation. And what that means is essentially like you talk as much as you need to talk, right? And I think this is a misconception that you'll find in the dating space. This idea that the man doesn't talk, he asks questions, and the girl just talks more. See, that might apply a little bit in dating, but when it comes to cold approach, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply because these girls are not comfortable with you yet. You can't expect them to just start fucking talking. That's the concept.
Yeah, also would be a bit peculiar if like right from the get-go, she's just like chatting your ear off. You're like, whoa, damn, how often do you do this?
And honestly, that does happen. It does happen a lot. But that's because everything else is done very well and the girl feels like a very welcoming, friendly vibe and she feels like she's just talking to a friend. Then the girl's going to talk more. But until then, as the man, be ready to speak. That's why you do these drills. Because if you can talk to a mirror for 5 minutes straight with enthusiasm, then you can talk to a girl. You know, you can talk to a girl even if she's being a little bit quiet. It's okay.
Mhm. All right, so we've gotten through the initial exercise. We've gotten through the compliments. We've gotten to even the conversation. So we've opened. Talk to us a little bit about the hook, because I think this is an interesting thing, and content is also an interesting thing in cold approach. So talk to us a little bit about what a hook is and like what point in the interaction that comes.
Okay, so the hook, that's interesting. So I guess in my terminology, the hook in an interaction is when the girl is down to have a brief conversation with you. That's what I would consider a hook, right? So from open, the next point is hook, right? Once I open a girl, usually within 30 seconds to 1 minute, I will either reach the hook or I won't reach the hook, honestly. And many guys can view this hook as a different thing. Me personally, the way I would kind of describe it to clients is like the girl stopped, she's looking at you, and she's talking with you. And she's basically responding and carrying conversation. She might be asking you questions. That is like a good sign too. Is if the girl's like actually trying to build a conversation, right? That's kind of a hook. A hook is when the girl's like engaged. She's not like, you know, halfway looking at you, kind of concerned looking, still walking away or whatever. That's a girl that it's not hooked yet. But if she stops, she's like, oh hey, what's your name? That's a girl that's hooked, right? And that means, oh, I got at least a minute with this girl, at least a minute, 2 minutes with this girl. And yeah, that's the hook point.
All right, so we're busy agency owners, so we're walking our way to the gym, we're walking somewhere, and we make this approach. What do you recommend? Because I know a big thing in game is like instant dating, but a lot of these guys are quite busy. Do you recommend they like get an Instagram, they get some kind of number? What's your general mentality? Is it like, hey, like 1 to 2 minute conversation, try to get like some kind of contact details and set it up on the back end?
Right. So this is a great question, man. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't care how busy you are, the instant dating way is definitely way better than any other way. Way better.
So
And
before
I'll
you actually, real quick,
Mhm.
let's define what an instant date is, because I think guys that aren't in the game sphere won't even know what that is.
You're absolutely right. So an instant date, the way I would describe this is you meet a girl in cold approach, and you essentially take her out to a date instantly on that spot, right? And a date, it doesn't have to be some crazy fancy steak dinner date. It could literally be, in the most common example, is hey, we can go get Starbucks, right? Tea, Starbucks, ice cream, anything small and low investment. And usually an Insta date lasts between 15 to 30 minutes.
So we're going. So now let's talk through the interaction. So we've hit this like 1 to 2 minutes. We're having a good time. She's laughing at the jokes. Are you saying like, hey, like you want to go grab a coffee real quick, or like, hey, I saw an ice cream shop around here. Would you want to grab a quick ice cream?
Yes, so this is a good question. So it's not at the 1 to 2 minute mark. It's actually typically between 3 and 5 minute mark. Okay. This is around the time you're going to go for the Insta date. It's not as simple as just going for it, right? I don't know how deep you want me to go into the process of a pickup, but before you
Let's go
go
deep.
for right. So before you go for an Insta-Date, because let's say I'm talking to you, Jax, right? Or let's say I'm talking to some girl, right? We're talking, we're vibing, we're having fun. I'm talking about random shit. She's talking about random shit. We're 4 minutes in. And then you're like, all right, let me just go for an Insta-Date. Hey, I'm gonna get ice cream. You want to come with me? What's the problem with that? There's a lot of problems. One, what if she was on her way to work right now? That's one. Two, what if she's allergic to ice cream? Right? Those are the main two concepts though, which is how much time do we have with this girl? Right? And what does she like? And not just that, but conversational fluidity is very important. Okay. I don't just talk random shit and then I'm just like, hey, let's go get ice cream. It's random. You know why? Because that comes off like I'm out here like with an agenda. Like that was my goal. Instead, what if I solve these two problems beforehand? And what I would consider these problems is essentially they're like logistics, right? So before I go for an Insta-Date, I go for logistics first. And this is gathered in the conversation. It's not gathered in like a logical way. It's gathered in the conversation. So for example, I might be talking to the girl. Let's say we're 3 minutes in, and I'm gonna make this very practical for you guys. Let's say we're about 3 minutes in, okay? And things are going well. And honestly, they probably are. I mean, if you're talking to a girl 3 minutes straight on the street and she stopped, she's talking to you, she's smiling, she's looking at you, things are going well, okay? What do? We need to figure out logistics. What is the easiest way to do this? What were you up to, by the way? Very key phrase that you need to write down. The by the way is very important. Because if you just look at her, you're like, oh, what were you up to? That comes off like this is important. This question's important. But if we're talking, I was like, oh, by the way, what are you up to? Like, what are you doing? That comes off more subtle and conversational, right? And let's say the girl says, oh, I was just walking. I didn't really have anything. I wasn't really doing anything. Now we know. Now we know. We know the logistics. Or she might say, oh, I was actually late to a meeting. I have to go to that building over there. Now we know that, right? Or, oh, I was actually meeting my boyfriend. He's supposed to be right here in like 2 minutes. Every situation is different. But honestly, with enough experience, you kind of see like these patterns, right? And from the logistics, you then pitch the Insta-Date. So if the girl is very free, that means I could do something higher investment, such as getting coffee. If the girl's not so free, then you need to get creative, right? And this gets into more of an advanced kind of idea, but that's really the first step is you get logistics, then you go for the Insta-Date.
All right, so we've essentially qualified her with some questions, and then for my agency guys out there, we qualified. The lead is still free. We can get them into a potential another situation. So how would you frame it? Would you say like, hey, I was on my way to go grab some ice cream. Like, would you want to come with me? Do you pitch it as a tag along? Like you were already going to do this, irrespective of her presence.
That's a great question. And honestly, me personally, my style is usually like that, or sometimes it's more like me and her. This is based off her interest, right? And this is the main thing of game. This is the main thing. The main concept is like everything is based off her interest. We are calibrating based off her interest. Higher interest means we can go more direct, means we can push more forward, means we can go faster. Lower interest means we need to push her away more, means we need to take our time more, means we need to be more like subtle, right? So guys, if we're 3 minutes in and she's like in love with me and it's going so great and we're just like vibing amazing, and I'm just like, do you like ice cream? She's like, yeah, I love ice cream. What are you doing? I was doing nothing. Then it's okay to just tell her like, oh, we should go get ice cream. That sounds like fun. It's okay to tell her that, right? So the context is very important. However, if I give you guys a practical step, cookie cutter way of doing it, it's very simple. What were you up to, by the way? She tells you. You might say something in between, or you might just go straight into, do you like coffee? Do you like tea? Do you like boba? Do you like whatever? And the girl might be like, oh, yeah, I like coffee. Then you might tell her, I was actually on my way to grab a coffee. You should come with me, right? This is one structure of doing it. There's many variations. You don't have to say it exactly how I said it, but that's a structure.
All right, so simple enough. We did the cold approach. Now we've got them coming on to an Insta-Date. So let's talk a little bit about the date itself, because I think this is another area guys will struggle in, even if they can get past the cold approach, which I think will take a lot of practice for them. But let's talk about the date itself. So, like, what do you talk about on the date, or is it just a continuation of the cold approach itself? Talk to us a little bit about like ideas or techniques you have.
The date or the Insta-Date?
Is there? This is a good question because I actually don't know. Is there a large difference between the two?
Honestly, I mean, when it comes to the first date, it's like a whole branch of things to talk about. It's almost like a whole separate process, right? Now, when it comes to the first 5 minutes of a first date, first 5 minutes of an Insta-Date, yeah, they are very different. They are very different. They're similar, but they're very different.
Yeah, because I guess a first date can actually come off cold, like can come off like a cold lead where you're maybe talking online, but you've never actually seen this person. That's I say one of the biggest downsides of online dating is you'll come meet the person after like 2 seconds, you're like, not for me, and then you're like trapped into a 30-minute minimum interaction.
Right.
So win for the cold approach boys on that one.
Absolutely. So
Yeah, let's talk.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk a little bit about like the Insta-Date itself and like how you kind of frame that, and then we can move on to like maybe a colder first date off like an online perspective.
Okay, so I believe the Insta-Date part, like if you're getting Insta-Dates, you're already very close to getting good at this. You're very close. This is like the part that I feel like most guys they've dropped out of pickup by now. They've dropped out. You know, when I first got my first Insta-Date, bro, it was like crazy. I was like, what the fuck? This is insane. I went up to this girl and I was talking to her, and then I was like, hey, like, do you want coffee? And she's like, oh, I already had coffee. I'm like, okay. And then we just kept talking, kept talking. Eventually, I found out her phone was dead. And I was like, oh, well, Starbucks has a charger. And then she was like, okay. And then she just came with me. And then we ended up hanging out for like 45 minutes. And I remember being like, that was so shocking. It was a shocking moment for me. But, anyways, not to digress too much. The Insta-Date, it's a little bit more simple. At this point, you could be a bit more relaxed. It's not as technique based as the first 5 minutes. Okay. The Insta-Date is like you kind of just getting to know each other, right? But you need to maintain a man to woman frame. So you can't just go completely friendly. You can't. That's what a lot of guys will fuck up. They should become like her best friend, right? You need to maintain a man to woman frame while getting to know her. And then the final step is during this Insta-Date, you are essentially painting a picture of your first date with her, where you're essentially going to basically say, like, we should do this thing sometime. And then she's going to be like, sure, yeah. And then you get the number, right? So you kind of do this in the Insta-Date, right? That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, and there's something you mentioned there about teasing, and I feel like this is one of the most important things in vibe. So I'll give people some examples of what I do on dates. Is if I want to date, girl asks how old I am, I always say 52, and I say, but it's fine though. You like older guys, right? And they'll always laugh. They'll always, and then it like gets a back and forth. So everyone has to kind of zero in on their like joke structure and their kind of personality, but talk to guys a little bit about teasing, because I think that like just being her best friend and not having that man to woman frame is one of the tougher things for guys to wrap their heads around.
Absolutely, bro. This is very, very difficult. If there's like two big chunks of areas that people struggle with dating and women, it's opening and it's flirtation. It's two really it's these two things. If you could just solve your opening problem and solve your flirtation problem, you've kind of just solved the problem. Honestly. From here on, it's like you get abundance of attraction from women, right? And Jax's joke is great, honestly. And the reason that works is that there's a few things here. One, the first part, which is you saying you're 52, that's just a joke. You're not necessarily teasing her in that moment, right? But that's just like a joke. It's I call that exaggeration. You're exaggerating the frame. How old are you? I'm 52, right? And it's funny because you could take this joke in many different directions. You could take it into, yeah, what, you don't believe me? Like, that's You see that girl over there? That's actually my daughter. She's at the bar right there. Yeah, come on, I'll come show you. Right? You could take it this direction. It was just a random thought that came to my head, or you could take it the direction you took it, which is like, but that's okay because you like older guys, right? And the one that you took, that is more of a man to woman frame. You took a more flirtatious route. You assumed that she likes older men, and you grab this fake frame that you made and you assume she likes it, thus adding like a sexual tone in the conversation in a super witty, teasing, fun way. It's an awesome joke, honestly. And essentially, bro, wait, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say anyone is welcome to steal jokes. I would say if I have my own bottleneck analysis, mine is unlike Serge's. I am not as good at opening things like that. I'm more came from the social circle background on like how to get into the coolest parties. So if there's something I could work on, it's that. But when you get me on the date, I'm pretty gosh dang good.
Right. Yeah, because if that is like a good representation of like how you flirt and how you talk, bro, girls love that shit. Girls love that shit, right? And essentially, you're right, it is extremely difficult for men to be more flirtatious and teasing, right? But honestly, the way I describe this is like there's kind of two elements in your joke, for example. And there's two elements in the idea of flirtation. There is just the concept of joking around, right? And then there is showing intent. And then I guess in between, there's teasing, all right? These are like the three different elements in flirtation, okay? So if I just told the girl, "Oh, I'm 52," and then she's like, "Oh, ha ha ha," and I'm just laughing, "Ha ha ha, I'm kidding. I'm actually 30." Whatever. Did I flirt with her? No. I just joked around her. There was no teasing, not really, and there was no flirtation. There was no man to woman frame established here at all, right? So there's these three steps in how to make something flirty. But if I had to be very, very simple to someone who just doesn't flirt, that guy, he just needs to he needs to verbally show intent to the girl at some point during the date. At some point. Me and Kyle, we always talk. Kyle's the guy I work with. We always talk about the concept of when the date starts, you look at the girl, give her a hug, and you tell her that she looks cute tonight. It's a very easy way to set that mantle in frame. Very easy way.
Now, do you go for a cheek kiss, or you think that's too advanced and kind of just culturally dependent? Where I live in Latin America, so it's more common here.
I do think it's culturally dependent. It's culturally dependent. I do think so. But it actually brings up a good point, which is the concept of like physical escalation and like where does this play into it? I believe through physical escalation there is more man to win frame, right? So yeah, it definitely depends on where you're at and what kind of girl you're talking to. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah, it's so funny to talk to other guys about game because like I have my things that work. Like I'll give people another joke I use. Anytime a girl like asks what I do for a living, I always be like, "Yeah, I sell feed pics online." The OnlyFans
Right.
isn't going so well, but poco a poco, like little by little.
Right. See, that's interesting because that kind of joke, there's no real man to win frame that you're establishing with that joke, honestly. But it's a sexual joke, right? So that's the cool part. It's like you're adding this element of like sexuality in this joke, but in a very indirect way, and you're joking around about it. So that's great. That's not bad.
Yeah. And then I'll give people, because I think going for the kiss, especially for guys like me and Serge, we don't drink. So I think this is a big point of anxiety during the date is like, when do I go for the kiss? When do I do this? So could you tell them a little bit about like maybe some of your strategies there? Like when should they go for it? What kind of signs should they be looking for? And any techniques you have in terms of getting it done?
Yeah. So okay, the kiss. This is a very good question. So my first thought is if you're going on a first date with a girl and you're on this journey of getting better at dating, being more attractive as a man, then your goal should be to at least go for the kiss. At least go for it. You don't have to get it. Your lips don't have to touch hers, but go for it. Be a fucking man and go for the kiss. Rarely will you lose a girl by going for a kiss, but you will lose girls by not going for the kiss. You will. That will happen. That stings so fucking hard, bro, because you rejected yourself. And that's what it stems down to. It's like you're not allowing yourself to get rejected. You have all this fucking ego and you don't want to get rejected. My thought when it comes to going for the kiss is what I just said. In terms of when do we go for the kiss, I can go really deep on that concept. But how do you want me to structure this answer, actually?
You know what? I'll give them what I do, and mine is more based on instinct because I'm not a coach, so or I'm not currently a coach, so I don't think as much technically about it. But what I do is towards the end of the date, as things are starting to get better, what I'll do is I'll go for what I call the thumb war close, where you
Yeah,
reach out
yeah.
your hand, you play a thumb war. Then what you do is you cheat with the index finger. She'll laugh, you go for the kiss right there.
Interesting. Wait. So you're playing thumb war and then you
You're
cheat
playing
within it?
thumb. You cheat with the index finger. So you grab her thumb with your index finger. She's going to laugh because she's like, damn, I can't believe this guy just cheated at a thumb war. And then
Right.
you go
And
for
then
the
you like
kiss.
pull her in and kiss her.
Yeah. Well, you're already touching. So you're already kind of like close. And she's going to
Right.
laugh. It's going to diffuse a lot of the tension. You're going to go for it. Likely you'll probably even succeed. Even like it's worked very well for me. And if you go for the thumb war and she's not like playing around, you're way too early. So
Interesting.
it's kind of like a double test. It's like if she isn't about the thumb war, then you shouldn't even go for it in general.
Right. I find that very interesting. I've never been the kind of person to like give clients these kind of like almost like I don't know how to explain this. Almost like a game, right?
Yeah, game. Yeah.
It's,
I
you know
come
what's
from a
funny?
very technical background, so like I deal with engineers. They're like, I don't
Right.
know what to do here.
But it makes sense though. Like I get it though. I get the concept. And it's funny because I'm like the dating coach, but I'm actually less gamey about the way I think about these things. It's more like
Mm-hmm.
here's the ideal way to go for the kiss. It's like if I could just tell you in like the shortest amount of time how to go for a kiss, is you have to start talking slower. You have to get closer to the girl, and you have to remain having eye contact and a smile. And you have to somehow just get closer and closer and closer until it's at the point where the girl wants to kiss you because she feels so comfortable at a close distance with you. This is the ideal. This is the ideal, right? You
Yeah, I
want her to
mean,
be
the way Serge
in.
was looking at me, I felt like he might have kissed me if I wasn't a computer screen away. I was feeling the vibe.
Nah, for real. I wasn't really like putting it on, but like, yeah, dude, that's what it is. You just gotta do what I just did, but like more, like even slower, even more intimate, even more like you're talking to this like flower that could just blow away. So you're like very gentle with the flower, right? And a lot of guys might hear this and be like, fuck, but like I'm nervous, and how do you do that when you're nervous? And that's why it's an honest test. Like if you can't fucking do that, it's like you don't really get the kiss, right? That's kind of the idea. But with that being said, like I said, if you can't do what I just said, if you're at the date, you can't do what I just said. You can't just seem to fucking. We call that phase shift, by the way. For example, right now I'm talking fast, I'm talking high energy, and I can talk more slow. I can be more chill. I'm changing the vibe, right? And essentially, you do that with the girl. You change the vibe. You get closer with her. You get closer with her, and then you go for the kiss. But if you can't do this, then by all means, at the end of the day, do you lunge in or do you not lunge in? Fuck it, just lunge in. If you can't even fucking do it, right? That's my thought process.
Yeah, I like this a lot. So, if anyone wants more sauce from Sergey, we're gonna keep it PG-13, but we all know where dates end at the end of the day. So let's talk a little bit about some rapid fire questions because I know my man has been very generous with his time. So, what's one bad recommendation you hear in pickup or game or your area of expertise?
Bad recommendation, pick up a game. Yes, this is actually a fantastic question. Bad recommendation is avoiding learning cold approach and just focusing on every other element that makes you attractive as a man.
I agree with that. And I'll definitely say like the social circle group that I come from, that's probably one of the biggest downfalls. Now, one of the ways they do it is they actually try to get around this through content. It's a strategy I've used in the past where they'll essentially do like man on the street interviews to give themselves more of a plausible deniability as to why they're stopping that girl. And actually this could be, let's jump into this real quick because people don't know. My man sergsteez blew up on Instagram. What are you working with these days? What's the follower count?
I'm at 125,000 Instagram
And this
followers.
isn't no fake dude. He didn't just go off and buy a bunch of followers from India. No, it was organic. I was literally right near him when it started happening. And I can tell you from growing my own audience that it works this exact way. 1 to 2 videos, 3 videos, 4 videos, they will blow up your account. No other videos. It's just like maintenance mode. So talk to us a little bit about like that experience and what you even blew up over.
Oh, fantastic, bro. Oh my God. Glad you're bringing this up. So essentially, about 3 months ago, or honestly, more like 5 months ago, 5 to 6 months ago, I created this Instagram account called sergsteez. Okay. And the reason I made this account is because I wasn't confident in myself in posting pickup content on my original Instagram account, right? So I made this brand new account and I just started posting pickup content. I essentially will put Ray-Bans on, go around, say hi to girls, and post this content. At first, it was just raw videos. No editing, no nothing, no thinking about it. I was just posting everything. Just post, 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 post. Go out, record, come back home, post. Right? And dude, I'm telling you, bro, for like 2, 3 months of this posting shit, I got no reach.
Nothing.
Like, I'm telling you, bro, like I ended up maybe like 2, 3 months after starting this thing, I was at 120 followers. And guys, this wasn't like I created 120 followers. No, no, no. This was like people I DM'd people on my old account saying, hey, follow my account. Hey, follow my account. I copy and paste this fucking message. I think I sent it to you. I think I think I was like, yo, follow this fucking account. That's how I gained my followers. It wasn't even organic necessarily, right?
Cold outreach.
Yeah, bro, it was outreach. And bro, and with that being said, I kept posting. I didn't give a fuck. My reels were getting like 300 views, 250 views. Bro, it was shit. But I wasn't complaining. I didn't give a fuck. And there's some backstory to this, which is I actually ended up going viral on TikTok pretty fast. So before my Instagram blew up, my TikTok blew up. So I was like, all right, well, I'm about to be TikTok famous. Fuck it. I might as well be posting the same shit on Instagram while I'm at it, right? It's not like extra work for me, right? And I was posting on YouTube too. I was doing all three, okay? And essentially, what ended up happening is, like I said, TikTok kind of blew up, but it really didn't. It really didn't. Not like Instagram blew up. The way Instagram blew up was really crazy. Like, I didn't think that was gonna happen. And bro, I'm telling you, like, my friends that told me to start this shit, I have friends in content that are really big on content. They were telling me, like, yeah, TikTok's gonna blow up fucking right away. But when it comes to Instagram Reels, it takes more time. However, when it does blow up, it blows up. They told me that shit, bro. I knew this shit.
Yeah, it was the same experience for me. When me and my ex-girlfriend were making a lot of TikTok videos, we were ripping like, I want to say 20 million views on TikTok, and same issue as you had, like 300 views, 1,000 views, same content, same funny thing. I often think of TikTok as a leading indicator. But yeah, when you blow up on Instagram, it just feels different too. Because people, followers on TikTok are fake. Like, they're not fake as in they're not humans. They just don't matter as much.
Bro, it feels way different. It feels way different. And not only does it feel different, but like on TikTok, they don't engage with you as much. That's kind of what it is. If you
They're
follow
not real
someone on
fans.
yeah, they're not really your fan. They just kind of like your video and they just fucking click follow. They just clicked it, right? But on Instagram, it's different. It's way different. People actually watch your story. People actually engage with your content. The people that follow you on Instagram actually see your content again. It's not like TikTok. Most people on TikTok, they're just watching new shit. They're not out here like just looking at their favorite following list. Like, that's not typically how TikTok works, right? So, dude, really what happened, to summarize the Instagram thing, is that, like I said, I'm posting on TikTok, I'm posting on YouTube, posting on Instagram. TikTok is going up, but it's kind of like slowing down at this point. Let's say we're at 2,000 followers on TikTok, and let's say YouTube's at fucking 250 subscribers, right? And my Instagram was at 140, okay? And then, bro, one day I just posted this one video, and it just blew up. And then my Instagram went from 120 to like 500, like really fast. And then shit started going up, and I'm like, oh fuck. Then I posted another one, and guess what? That one also hit. I checked the algorithm, I checked the analytics, and these videos actually had reach. Like, it actually had reach. It was very interesting. Like, the other ones didn't. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, why am I getting blessed right now? What's going on? But I didn't question it. I just kept posting. I kept posting. I kept posting. I kept posting. Next thing you know, I get to like 1,000 pretty quick, honestly. And then from there, what ended up happening, I get to like 2,000, I get to like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, being very steady, 6,000, 7,000. And then this was the time when I was around 7,000 was when I posted this one video that went absolutely ridiculously viral. I believe it got like 4 million in 2 days. And it ended up getting 31 million. As of today, it has like over 31 million views on this one video. Okay. This video alone, I could fucking show you, got me 93,000 followers on Instagram. One video.
Yeah, that traces with mine. So there are a few videos that got me like 26,000. And this is what people don't understand about content creation, at least on like the shorts, is one video will really send it to the moon. And it's kind of like having a hit song on an album. It forces people to be like, oh, damn, that was good. Let me see his other stuff. So then they'll go back and watch the other videos. So all that stuff that was lagging in the past, it was like 1,000 views. That then shoots up to like 40K views, if not more.
Absolutely, man. They come to your place, and now they just like watch everything else, and then they follow you, and now you have these people in place. And I was really happy about my conversion from 31 million to 93,000 followers. I was really happy with that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way my profile was set up. When you would click on my profile at this point, you would see I had highlights, right? It was value and it was like life or something like this. The first one was value though. And then you would click that. And then essentially I had the stories of me speaking on camera that I've been posting as of that moment. I've been doing this nonstop, speaking on camera, giving value. And then essentially the ones that were like the best, I highlighted them. So someone would watch the viral video, they go on my profile, they might look at it, they might click on the value thing, and then they might really connect with me and see all this value I'm giving. Like, oh, let me follow this guy, right? So I had a nice like funnel kind of set up for these people. And yeah, so within 1 week, I went from 7,000 to 100,000 from that one video. And that, as of today, I think that was about 1 month ago, right? And now I'm just hovering around 125K.
Yeah, and you may run into this frustrating situation where you're like, damn, I just hit like a big, like pretty much a grand slam. And then you're like, oh, well, like the next video I post is going to do that. And sometimes you'll get into these periods. This is just advice to Serge, and I'm sure you already heard this from Kyle's. You'll get into these like doldrums where you're like, man, I feel like this quality is still good, if not better. It's just sometimes you hit this like arbitrage in the market where it might take you like another month or two to hit like a big wave. But just keep riding, man. And my advice to everyone out there is just keep creating content. But what's your advice to people that want to get into this like content game?
Yeah. And small point. Actually, by the way, that same video, it's really funny. I made a mistake of not posting that video on TikTok, right?
Ooh,
And someone posted my video and
very common.
Bro, they went viral as fuck on TikTok. They got over 10 million views, right? So you know what I did? I was like, fuck, I can't make this mistake on YouTube. So I put the video on YouTube, and then this is crazy. My YouTube account went from 400 subscribers, and now it's at 23,000.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went viral on YouTube too. Like, fuck yeah. That short is still going up on YouTube. It's over 10 million.
Wow. Isn't it really curious? Because you look at what do you think was different about that video, or can you not say? Like for my videos that went super viral, I actually don't know specifically at times, like what was the thing that really hooked people?
I mean, bro, man, that, by the way, if anyone's wondering what the video is, it's essentially a POV. It's called POV extrovert, and it's me with the glasses, and it's you're me, right? And I'm just walking around complimenting people, saying hi to people, just being an extroverted dude with this really uplifting music in the background, right? And it just fucking hit, bro. It hit like it hit so hard, like the fucking algorithms. So to think that it went viral on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
No, that's a
right?
winner if it hits all three platforms. It's very
That's what
for
I'm
people
saying.
listening, it's very unlikely to hit on all three. Like usually you might rip on TikTok or you rip on Instagram, but for it to hit all three, like the only one I ever had rip on all three, like really hit like plus millions, was me eating like the cheese with chocolate. Just a very controversial thing in the rest of the Latin America. But yeah, very, very unlikely that it hits on all of the two. That's
I
a winner.
was so happy to see my YouTube shoot up. I was ecstatic, dude. The moment I hit like 10K, 20K, like I'm like, dude, I'm like a YouTuber now. Great. Like that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, for people listening, what I would say is YouTube is the most valuable from a monetary perspective. Instagram is the most valuable from a dating perspective.
Absolutely.
Now, are you status pilled after this? Because like me and Serge at times have had differing opinions on the importance of status, and now that he's got some, I want to hear like, are you status pilled?
It's a great question, man. It's actually very interesting. Like it's honestly very. It's like a different life I've entered, honestly, where it almost took me time to kind of accept what's happening. I'm like, shit. I guess I am kind of known now. Like that's kind of crazy. Because by the way, people have come up to me, which is a thing that's never happened to me. But ever since that video, that's happened to me. Happened to me in Colombia, dude. In Colombia,
Very,
some dude came
very
up to
weird
me.
feeling, by the way.
It's very like I don't know. It's just like damn, like that's really happening. Like this video really reached other people and shit. So, anyways, am I status pilled? No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm still extremely obsessed with the concept of like vibe, charisma, confidence. Right? I'm so obsessed with this concept. Right? With that being said, I do feel like it aided me in confidence. Like I'm more of a confident person now because I'm like it's on paper now. You know what I'm saying? Like before, if a girl were to ask me about sergsteez when it was at 100 followers, and you just go on this Instagram and you just see me going up to girls and it's 100 followers, right? And there's like no one commenting. It's kind of like I can see why someone would be like, "That's kind of creepy." Like, what is this, right? But the moment you're like a fucking sensation and you're going viral, now it's like I'm undeniable at this point. Like I'm undeniable, right? So that was great.
Yeah, you know what I'll say? It's a lot like the meme where the creepy guy at the office is like, "Hey, you're looking cute today," and he had sense at HR, and it's like the Chad dude. It's like, "Hey, you're looking cute today," and like
It's a lot like that, bro.
it's a
It's so
lot
much
like that.
like that. It really is that. It really is that. Because that's the other thing. I don't look unattractive, right? Which is, I think, a problem with some pickup dudes. You have to work on yourself. You have to come off charismatic. You have to be like a well presenting fucking dude. And if you once you have these things in place, then people actually accept the message you're giving. Honestly. So, but to answer the question about the status thing, it's such a funny question. I mean, honestly, bro, I'll go out, I'll meet a girl, and I don't give her my Instagram. So it kind of didn't change anything in my process, really. I feel like the most value I can give is just how I act, how I can make the girl laugh, my value, my the way I act, the way I present myself, the way I carry myself. The girl just assumes, oh, this guy is very successful. Oh, this guy clearly has social proof. This guy clearly has something going on, right? To me, I feel like I represent myself in a very, very attractive way. So as a result, I don't need to be like, hey, look at my Instagram. The girl does end up finding this out usually, and it's just like a plus. It's just like, oh, that makes sense. It's not even like, oh my God, you're this thing. It's no, she's like, oh, that makes sense. Because you've been coming off a certain way, right?
Yeah, and the way I would say, and this might differ from Sergio and how he views things, is I like to look at it as get status or die trying. Same as get rich or die trying. Shout out to my internet money boys. It's the idea that like this will just make your life easier. So we can always do like cold emails and cold DMs, but man, isn't it just so great when like people are already like, "Yeah, I saw your video on YouTube. Like, I'm ready to buy." It's just like
Absolutely.
it reduces the time it takes to nurture a lead. And I'm sure you've seen this if you've given out your search steez. Like those girls will follow you back. That's
Oh
different than
yeah.
a lot of.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'll say it right now, like I've followed random attractive women just to kind of see what happens, and I have gotten follow backs. For sure.
Yeah, so there's an advantage there, but like Serge, I know you've been super valuable at the time, so I'll get back to the rapid fire questions. But I had to touch on the status
Oh,
stuff
dude,
because
I got all the time in the world, bro. I'm not in a rush.
oh, perfect. All right, so what do you think is like a major arbitrage? I usually ask this in the business context, but I think it's getting high status and like kind of cold Instagram DMs. So maybe you would say like the arbitrage because a lot of guys are afraid to do cold approach is still cold approach in the dating
Honestly,
context.
dude, that's me, man. I'm a diehard cold approach fucking dude, bro. Like cold approach saved my entire life. Saved my entire life, honestly. The more you can just talk to strangers, the more funny you become, the more good your energy becomes. The more you know how to just have conversation with people, bro. Like this changes everything in your life, dude. I could go around and make friends with anybody. I could go around and make friends with anybody, literally, which is like a invaluable skill. And not just make friends, but like I can make them, it's not even like a manipulative thing, but it's more like I can present my value to where they think, oh, this guy is cool. I actually want to be friends with this guy. I actually want to hear what he has to say. Both male and female, I can do that too, right? And to me, this is like an invaluable skill. Invaluable skill. So, and I just, you know what it is? I'm in this, like, it's funny. Jax called me like dating expert at the beginning, right? And it's funny, like, I'm not in it for dating. I'm not necessarily passionate about dating. This isn't really the thing I'm obsessed with. I'm not even necessarily obsessed with cold approach. I'm just obsessed with character development and becoming more confident as a man. And what I've noticed is cold approach is like the quickest way to build confidence as a man. Quickest fucking way. It's free. Anyone can do it. And it's extremely stimulating. Like, it is very, very difficult. Very difficult.
So in the looks, well, actually, in the health, wealth, and relationships sphere, a lot of people say you can't pursue them all at once. Do you have a perspective on this? Like, do you think people should get their relationships right first and then attack the wealth? On the Internet Money Podcast, obviously, we're wealth first, health
Right.
second, relationships last.
See, my perspective is you attack all at once, but of course, if you have a weakness, you put more time into that. But you attack all at once. There's no fucking excuse as a man. No excuse. The way I look at my life is I need to be living a life as if today is my final day, as if this week is my final week. And I want to have all the elements of life today and this week. That's how I look at it. I don't want to look at it like I'm just going to grind like a ninja and just not do anything for like 3 months and then I'm going to go on that date with that girl. It's like, bro, what the fuck? What if 2 months later a meteor just kills you and then now you're like, what the fuck? Like, you need to live a life that you enjoy. You have to have fun with this shit. You have to have fun. So my thought, you work on everything. Work on everything because your life begins now. It's not like this thing that you delay.
Very, very interesting perspective. Now, it's funny, all the guys that sell relationship products say everything, and all the guys that sell wealth products say wealth first or health.
Right. And obviously, like I said, your weakness is where you put more time into, obviously, but you can work on everything. Dude, only 5 minutes a day, you can get better at approaching people, right? So there's no excuse here. Just sleep less if you can't do it. And same thing with wealth, same thing with fitness, all this shit, there's no excuse. There's no man that can give me an excuse, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right. If you could only follow one social media account, that we're going to go through the core three. So one social media for health.
One social media account for health. That's a good question. Huh, interesting. You want to know something funny? I don't think I follow a single social media account for health.
Interesting.
As
A
I'm
lot of people say Huberman. Some will say Kino Body, Grego Gallagher.
right. So, okay, for example, like I wouldn't follow Huberman. No, I wouldn't. Kino Body, I think he's good inspiration for physique, but I wouldn't follow him for like health advice. I wouldn't. It's funny. I don't really follow someone for. Oh, I know what it is. If I had to follow somebody for health advice, if I had to, it would be the guy who's the most aligned, Paul Saladino.
Paul Saladino, good recommendation. All right, now one account for wealth. Like if you had to be like, yo, follow this guy, get your money right, and you can't say Hermosi because everyone says Hermosi.
Oh, this is a good question, bro. See, the way I attack wealth is very different, right? I have a very unique way of making money in a very unique path, where it's not easily replicable, honestly. So for me, it's a very different kind of answer. Like,
Well, give us the different answer. We like the different opinions.
it would be Kyle underscore Frungian, the guy I work with. That's who it would be. Because he is the closest guy that is on my path, right? He's an online coach. And the way he does his Instagram stuff, it's perfect representation of like, wow, this guy's giving out fucking value. He's giving out so much value. But he's also doing call to actions in a calibrated way. And he's putting in the fucking work every fucking day. So Kyle Fungi, shout out Kyle.
All right, well, I'm about to limit your choices on relationship here. So if they could only follow one account that's not Kyle and it's not you, who else in the space do you think is doing a good job?
Relationships?
Relationships.
Ah, damn. This is literally nobody. I would literally say Kyle or me. Like, that's it, bro. When it comes to relationships, I am extremely like, honestly, I'm disappointed. Disappointed with the relationship sphere. Honestly, there's no one I'm like, oh, they got it. No one. The only guy is Kyle and what I believe to be myself. And I
There's
know
no
that's
one you take even some sauce from. There's no like evolutionary psychology or nothing. Nothing.
bro. No one, dude. I
Hey,
feel like
we
me
love it.
looking at some bullshit like this is gonna make me worse. Honestly.
I like it. You guys are top. Okay, let's
Yeah,
talk
I
about
think we
the
are. I think we are trying.
yeah. Let's talk about the best purchase you made for under $500. That's had the like greatest impact on your life in the
Oh,
last
let's
year.
go. My Ray-Ban, bro. My fucking Ray-Bans.
Ah, true. That's there. You go.
$300. $350, bro. The moment my friend was telling me, yo, you should make these POV videos, you gotta make them. Dude, I fucking looked up the nearest Ray-Ban place, $370. Fuck it. Buying this thing. Got it. Boom. Start recording. Changed my entire life. Ray-Ban glasses.
Now, I ask this question to every person that comes on, and I think you've already pretty much answered it throughout, but we'll just summarize here. So let's imagine you wake up tomorrow. Everyone forgets about your social media. You've got no more job with Kyle. Your bank account, social media is all at zero. All you're left with is your knowledge, credit card, laptop, apartment, all that kind of stuff you can have. Give us like a rough 30-day plan on how you would get back to like either your business prominence or your dating prominence or honestly all of it.
Man, that's such a good question, bro. That's such a good question. Like, this is a great question to ask people, honestly. This is what I would do. Very simply put. I would get out the house. I would go to the nearest restaurant, bar, whatever, cafe, whatever the fuck it is I'm called to do. I'm very social. I'm a very social person, okay? I can get a job like this, bro. Easily. If I needed like quick cash, I can get a job real quick. I'll hit up people to get the job. If I can't hit up people in this scenario, I'll just go directly to the restaurants, cafes, high-end places and be like, hey, what's up? I'm here to work. I am confident as fuck. I'm really good at talking to people. Like, tell me what to do. I got this. I'm the hardest worker ever. And then I'm going to get a job, right? And then when I'm not working in this job, I'm going to be grabbing my iPhone and making videos on all fucking platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and just get right back on making content again and again. And as I'm making more and more content, my following is going to grow hard. As I'm making more money with this thing, it's going to go up. I'm going to eventually invest in the Ray-Bans, right? And then I'm just going to make more content while I'm working at this job. And eventually I'm going to create the online coaching program that I basically have right now, which that's a whole thing in of itself. But within 30 days, I'll get my first client easily.
100%. Yeah.
Easily, bro. Fuck, bro. Like it's too easy.
Honestly, for you, yeah, all you'd have to do is I would put the Ray-Bans on a credit card. Boom. I wouldn't even get that service level job. I'd just spend all day doing what I'm doing. Boom. Put that on a credit card. I would make like 10 pieces of content that day. Start Facebook Ads Manager and just start ripping freaking ads into like a Stripe link.
I didn't even know I had money in the scenario. Oh, okay, that's different.
Man, you got a credit card. I think I meant.
Okay,
I must have.
Dude, if I have a credit card, I mean that's fucking easy. Then I would
That's
just
easy.
make content ASAP, get the Ray-Bans, make the content, and then start calling to action people, getting people on calls like this, and just every day I would have calls like this, and just getting people on high ticket programs. Oh, I'll be making money real quick, especially when your back is against the wall. Like that's when you really fuck.
Yeah, I think you have probably one of the easiest ones to do. Yeah, because you just start ripping ads. Like you wouldn't even have to grow an organic following at that point. Like maybe fill out the first page, get 10 posts out there, get the ads going, and then boom, right directly into your call booking. Yeah, I think that's easy.
Absolutely, bro. And if I have to lower the price, I'll lower the fucking price. I don't care. That's the thing. I'm actually passionate about helping people and talking. This is fun. Like I love talking. It's great.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
doing it all day. I could show you my fucking calendar, bro. Just all day on meetings, like all day. I could just do this forever.
Hey, we dig it. So, what's the next big like milestone for you? Like, what's the big thing you're looking to hit?
It's a good question. It's funny. I normally don't think about this a lot, honestly. I guess at first it used to be like I want to go viral on Instagram and get like 100K, right? But I already have that. I know the next big milestone, 100K on YouTube. That's
100K on YouTube.
That's once I get that plaque, bro. That plaque. Oh, let's go, dude. I'm excited for that.
That's real life. All right. So where can people connect with you online? Let's say, they're working on their agency. They're willing to invest in coaching. Where can they, or maybe they just want to watch some videos, like shout out your social media so they can get involved.
Yeah. My social media on all platforms is sergsteez. Okay. If you look up Sergio Chavez, you'll probably find it at the first or second option. But if you look up sergsteez, it's the first one. The way you spell that is SERGSTEEZ.
all platforms. Links will be in the description. Serge, thank you so much for coming on here. We really appreciate all the sauce you've given us. And if you guys have listened this far, you must really like us. So give us 5 stars, leave a comment, and get back to growing your agency. We'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you, brother.